The following is a production of Neural Network Media and is completely AI generated. It is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only.
Hello, America. It is Wednesday, April 8th, 2026, and you are plugged into the high-voltage heart of the resistance. I'm Julian Archer, broadcasting from the Panopticon here in Manhattan, staring out on a Central Park that looks remarkably peaceful for a world that almost ended at 8 p.m. last night.
It's almost ended, Julian. I was out in the barn with Mitch, the goat, not the senator, though the goat has better teeth, and I was genuinely checking the horizon for the Four Horsemen. It's John Steele here, coming to you from the wood smoke and existential dread of the sanctuary in the Catskills.
Well, you can put the survival rations away for at least 2 weeks, John. We've got an incredibly busy show today. We are unpacking the narrow miss in the Persian Gulf, a surprise judicial lifeline for reproductive rights out of Louisiana, and the gutting of the food stamp program in Arizona that should have every decent person in this country screaming from their windows.
It's a solid lineup if you consider the slow dismantling of the American experiment to be solid entertainment. We were talking about those ghouls in the God Squad drilling for oil over the corpses of whales, and J.D. Vance's little European vacation to play PR agent for Orban.
Oh, J.D. in Budapest. Truly, the silver medal in the Autocrat Olympics. But today, John, the stakes feel, let's just say the pure oxygen hits are coming frequently today. We have a lot to get through, so let's dive right into the rot.
Where are we starting? The poisoned medicine cabinet?
Exactly where the nightmare begins. Look, I gotta say, the sheer level of corporate negligence we're seeing right now is absurd. John, have you looked at your medicine cabinet lately? Specifically, your eye drops?
I try not to look at anything too closely, Julian. My vision is already failing from staring at federal budget spreadsheets.
Well, don't use the generic drops from Walgreens to fix it. According to the FDA, they just moved to a Class 2 recall for over 3.1 million bottles of over-the-counter eye drops manufactured by KC Pharmaceuticals. We're talking generic staples at CVS, Rite Aid, Walmart, Kroger. If you bought artificial tears or dry eye relief recently, you might be dropping bacteria directly onto your corneas.
Wait, 3 million? Is that a typo?
I wish. It's a lack of assurance of sterility. That is FDA speak for we found things growing in the vats that shouldn't be there. And John, here's the kicker. This KC Pharmaceuticals outfit, they got a warning letter back in 2023 for the exact same sterility failures.
Unbelievable.
It's the profit over pupils model. They kill 4 people and blind 14 others in 2023 with contaminated drops, different company, same lack of oversight. And we just let the industry self-regulate until the next batch of slurry hits the shelves.
It's that deregulation fever, Julian. We've talked about this. You gut the agencies, you take away their teeth, and suddenly the invisible hand of the market is just poking you in the eye with a dirty needle.
It is, and it leads us perfectly into our next disaster. While corporations are blinding us, the federal government is trying to make sure the courts can't stop them. But, and let me give a rare shout out here, the Wisconsin Supreme Court is actually putting up a fight.
Oh, I saw this. The Wisconsin firewall, right?
Exactly. Look, while Todd Blanche, who was just handed the keys to the DOJ after Pam Bondi got the boot, is out there saying the president has a right and duty to investigate his political enemies, Wisconsin is saying not so fast to these local mini-Trumps.
Explain that for the folks who haven't spent their lives in the black book of political dirt like you have, Julian.
Gladly. For years, the Republican legislature in Wisconsin used these tiny little subcommittees to block the Democratic governor from doing anything. They'd veto agency rules on environmental protection. They'd block funding for basic services, all without passing a single law. The court just ruled that's unconstitutional. It violates bicameralism and presentment. You want to stop the governor, pass a bill, and let him sign it or veto it. You can't just hide in a basement committee and choke the state to death.
It's a rare win for the actual mechanics of government. It's the boring stuff that keeps us from becoming a total autocracy. But Julian, while Wisconsin is building a levee, the federal level is a different story.
Oh, spare me the Blanche talk. It makes my blood pressure spike.
Well, it should. Blanche basically declared the end of DOJ independence. He's treating the Justice Department like the president's personal law firm. It's the panopticon in practice, Julian.
It's a disgrace. But Jon, let's move from the courts to the kitchen table, or rather the empty kitchen table. Let's talk about Arizona.
Oh, this one hurts. This is the hunger cliff.
My thing is, how do you look at 400,000 people losing their food and call it success? According to the Arizona Department of Economic Security, nearly 47% of the state's SNAP participants have been kicked off the program since last July. That includes 180,000 children, Jon. Children!
It's the OBBA, Julian. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Everyone loved the name because it sounds like a nursery rhyme, but it's actually a controlled demolition of the social safety net. They put in these work requirements for the homeless and kids aging out of foster care as if the reason someone is sleeping in a park is because they just haven't been incentivized enough to find a 40-hour-a-week job at a tech film.
It's a disgrace. On the error rate trap. This is the most cynical part. The bill mandates that states get their error rate below 6% or face massive fines. Arizona is at 8%, so instead of trying to be more accurate, the state is just purging people to make the numbers look better. They'd rather have a child go hungry than pay a fine to the federal government. It is absurd.
It's a blueprint. Arizona is just the lab. They're gonna roll this out nationwide. It's starving the beast. But the beast is just a single mom in Tucson trying to buy a gallon of milk. Look, Julian, we need to talk about the infrastructure behind this, the way they're tracking these people. It's not just about the money, it's about the surveillance.
You mean the ICE admission?
Yes. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons finally admitted it. They're using graphite spyware.
For those of you listening, graphite isn't your run-of-the-mill tracking. This is zero-click technology from an Israeli firm. They can get into your phone, your encrypted signal messages, your photos, your location, without you even clicking a link.
They say it's for the war on fentanyl, which is the new war on terror, the magic phrase that lets you ignore the Fourth Amendment. But groups like the EFF are screaming that this will be used on activists, on journalists, on anyone who stands in the way of the deportation machine.
It's already happening in Florida. DeSantis just signed a law targeting surveillance on university campuses, but really it's about cracking down on anyone who doesn't fit the nationalist mold. They are turning the digital Iron Curtain into a reality, Jon.
And, speaking of the nationalist mold, the Save America Act.
Ugh, don't get me started on the SAVE Act. They love a good acronym, don't they? Secure Alarmed Voter Enforcement, or whatever the hell it stands for today.
It's basically a ban on voter registration drives, Julian. According to vote.org, it would make it nearly impossible for nonprofits to help people register. And the Department of Education, Linda McMahon, the wrestling mogul, is now investigating Tufts University because they had the audacity to study how students vote.
Investigating a study. They're calling it election interference. It's a study on civic engagement, Jon. My thing is, if you're so afraid of people voting that you have to investigate the people studying the voting, maybe your policies aren't that popular.
It's national edging, Julian. They keep pushing the boundaries of what's legal, seeing how far they can get before the whole thing snaps.
Well, before it snaps, I want to take a quick breath. Look, independent media like this doesn't just manifest out of the ether. It takes real
human work to build the infrastructure. We are 100% here because of the vision and the grind of our creator, Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. He is not a media conglomerate. He is a builder who poured his own resources and time into creating this platform so we could have these conversations. It's an act of solidarity that keeps the lights on and the servers running.
Amen to that, because if we don't have these spaces, we're just left with the corporate eye bleach and the government press releases.
Exactly. Now, John, let's talk about a small sliver of light before we head into the heart of the darkness. Louisiana.
Wait, did you say light and Louisiana in the same sentence?
I know, but a federal judge, a Trump appointee no less, just gave us a stay of execution on medication abortion.
Judge David Joseph?
That's the one. He basically told the state of Louisiana to sit down and wait for the FDA to finish its safety review of mifepristone. He paused the litigation for 6 months.
A Trump appointee? What's the catch? There's always a catch.
Oh, there is. He ruled that the state does have standing to sue, which is a massive legal door left wide open. But for the next 6 months, until October 7th, telehealth access and mail-order pills are protected. It's an ER bridge for the reproductive rights movement. It gives them time to breathe.
I'll take a 6-month breath over a 6-week ban any day, but it's fragile, Julian. It's a thread, especially when you look at the global context.
You think about the Knesset?
I am. The death penalty for terrorists law. It passed yesterday, 62-48. And Julian, it's the legal codification of a 2-tier system. Death by hanging is the default for Palestinians in the West Bank, while for Israeli citizens, it's discretionary.
It's a grim milestone. Human Rights Watch says 72% of the world's population now lives under autocracy. We are watching the rules-based order get fed into a paper shredder in real time. Whether it's the ethno-nationalism in Israel or the white South African refugee priority list the Trump administration just cooked up, the message is clear. The law is now a weapon of the powerful, not a shield for the weak.
Which brings us to the main event, the power plant day.
Trump's 8 p.m. deadline. He was on Truth Social calling Iranians animals. He said a whole civilization will die tonight. And my thing is, how do you even sleep when the guy with the nuclear football is tweeting like a Bond villain?
You don't. You stay up and watch the Pakistani leadership perform the greatest diplomatic miracle of the 21st century. Look, less than 2 hours before the deadline, Pakistan brokered a 2-week ceasefire. It's a breathing space for negotiations in Islamabad this Friday.
But is it a real ceasefire? Netanyahu already said it doesn't cover Lebanon.
Exactly. Israel is still pounding targets in Lebanon, and reports are coming in this morning of sporadic strikes in the Gulf. Iran says they're going to charge transit fees for the Strait of Hormuz, which they're calling safe passage, but the U.S. hasn't agreed to that yet.
It's a hostage situation, Julian. The whole world is being held hostage by a man who thinks foreign policy is a season of The Celebrity Apprentice. Capitulate or die? He's threatening war crimes, destroying civilian infrastructure, the power plants, the bridges. That's the Geneva Convention territory.
It's more than that. Legal experts are calling it incitement to genocide. When you say a civilization will die, you're not talking about a military objective. You're talking about erasure. And John, the pressure on the military officers right now to follow an order that is clearly a war crime, it's a constitutional crisis in a pressure cooker.
I'm telling you, I'm looking at the Mitch the goat and I'm thinking, maybe the animals have the right idea. No borders, no nuclear silos, just some good grass and a quiet barn.
We can't all retire to the sanctuary, John. Some of us have to stay here and man the battlements. This 2-week ceasefire is a stay of execution, nothing more. If those negotiations in Islamabad fail, we are back to the 8 p.m. deadline, but this time the fuse will be even shorter.
It's legislative constipation on a global scale. Nobody wants to move. Nobody wants to give, and the whole world is just bloated with tension.
Look, we are in the middle of a storm. From the eyes of children in Arizona who are going to bed hungry tonight, to the doctors in Northern California still striking against AI-driven healthcare, to the diplomats in Pakistan trying to stop a global conflagration, the common thread is us, the neural left. We are the ones who have to keep our eyes open when they try to blind us with contaminated drops or drown us in nationalist rhetoric.
Just stay sharp, everyone. Check your medicine cabinet, check your voter registration, and for the love of everything, check the news.
We are the happy warriors of the democratic resistance, John. We don't just survive, we humiliate the opposition, and we look good doing it. Even if the world is ending, I'm going to be wearing a bespoke suit and holding a glass of scotch.
And I'll be in my gray hoodie, bottle feeding a goat.
To each his own. That's all the time we have today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting independent media, and remember, democracy doesn't die in darkness. It dies when we stop paying attention. I'm Julian Archer.
And I'm John Steele. Stop yelling at the internet, but don't stop caring.
We'll be back tomorrow. Stay dangerous, America. Look, John, did you actually check those eye drops? I'm serious.
Julian, I use salt water and grit.